It's starting to feel like fall again. Weather's nicer. It's great to ride a bike in the morning. Fun decorations are going up. And I get to combine my interest of riding a bike with art. And I'm going to show you a way that I sort of facilitated that. What I've created is an ultra portable palette board easel. It can be held in the hand. It supports whatever paper you're working on. And it has the paints and water included, all in one. It also has a thumb hole that would allow it to be held sort of like a traditional palette is. And it's flat and can sit on any sort of surface. So whether it's the ground, whether you've got some rocks to sit it on, or a log, or in my case, here in the video, just some pavement. It closes up and fits tidily into a backpack, and you can take it on any sort of adventure, whether you like hiking, biking, motorcycling, skiing, or any sort of activity like that where you can't carry a lot of stuff. Now, if you wanted to build your own one of these, I can kind of show you the idea. So from start to finish, the process kind of went as follows. First thing I decided was what features did I need to have. Now I've had a lot of experience painting outside, and I know all the things that I wanted to accomplish with this thing. I personally haven't explored watercolor a lot recently. I've done gouache and oil, and I even started out very early on with acrylic. But watercolor has been kind of a blind spot for me. And it's a really great medium if you can master it, but above all else, I feel that its greatest strength is its portability. You can use dried watercolor cakes and water anywhere. It's a super portable way to work. You can take it on airplanes, you could take it traveling. All you need is a place that has water, and you are good to go. So I did a little bit of research regarding sketch easels, and a lot of people have used these torque hinges. Now, these are special hinges that don't just flop open and flop closed. Like, they actually hold a lot of tension within themselves. And that's what allows you to prop up your paper or sketchbook or whatever you attach to the board, and it stays in place. And those are crucial. And then I needed to kind of figure out how much space I needed for a small palette, a little cup of water, and I wanted to have that thumb hole, and I needed some place to kind of grip it. Now, there were several components that I needed to purchase in order to make this. I needed a set of torque hinges. I needed a palette tin. I needed magnets, which I actually already had, but if you were to build this, I would recommend getting some magnets as well. And a water cup. Now, some of these things actually needed modification. The torque hinges, when closed, by default, didn't close totally flat. And so what I wanted to do is modify them in some way to get them flat. And what I ended up doing was cutting part of the hinge away to make room for a screw. The screw that actually controls the amount of torque in the hinge. The palette tin as well, I needed to modify. I wanted it to stay in place. And what I ended up doing is actually bolting it onto the board. In addition, I hot glued those little pans into the tray so that they weren't falling out by accident. Now, I started this whole thing with a sketch on cardboard. The reason for that being it was a quick way to iterate and kind of plan the whole thing out so I could easily cut the thumb hole and the whole shape of the thing and kind of get a feel for it before I even began working with wood. It also then worked as a template so that when I transferred it to the board, it was as easy as tracing. Now, in regards to the wood that I used, it is 2 pieces of 1/4 inch plywood. Those are the top and bottom. Then I have a 1/2 inch plywood. Now, The reason for that is because it's the exact thickness of the hinges when they're closed. So it gives it a nice uniform thickness to the whole thing. It also gives me a place to grip. So I've created sort of a hand grip, an ergonomic sort of way to grab on to the thing and keep it in my hand, should I use it in my hand. And then there's also little holes for the magnets to sit in so that they are flush with the wood and they hold the lid of the pallet tin in place. My main tools for this project were a circular saw, an oscillating multi-tool, and a Dremel tool. Now that's what I did all my cutting and wood shaping and working with. I also used a drill to create some screw holes. I used the circular saw to cut the main shapes, and then the oscillating multi-tool is for the smaller areas where I really need to get down and cut the corners out. Very helpful for interior cuts. Then of course I used the Dremel tool to kind of smooth everything out from there. I wanted to fasten everything together using screws, nuts, and washers. That way there is a tension from both sides rather than relying on wood screws, for example, which would need enough thickness of wood to actually grab onto and stay. And I just didn't have enough confidence in the 1/4-inch plywood. So they're bolted from both ends, and then the screws are cut exactly to length, which I also use the Dremel for. And here's a look at everything together. Now you'll notice that I had to cut a hole in the lid to make this thing shut flat because the pallet tin it's thicker than everything else. It's more than 1/2 inch thick, and so it actually sticks out over the top. And I had two choices here. Either I made the whole thing thick enough for that to go inside, or I cut a hole. Now I opted to cut a hole for two reasons. One, it made the overall package feel smaller. But also, this hole, while it seems kind of silly to have a giant hole in the back where you're supposed to put your paper, it actually works as a viewfinder. So before you even start your composition, you can kind of hold it up and decide what you're going to draw and kind of focus in on a single area. So let's get to testing. And here you see me sort of packing everything up, and it's very simple. So what I did is I took a pre-taped piece of watercolor paper. This one's a 5x7. You could go up to 8x10 or even 9x12, whatever fits in your backpack really. And I have a corrugated plastic backing. Now this is taped straight onto that, and then a second piece to kind of protect the front. Then I use my clip to keep those two together, put those in the pack. Then of course the easel goes in, but first I have the little collapsible cup, and I put that right inside the easel, close it shut, and put it in the pack. In addition, I have several brushes and a sketch kit. Now the sketch kit is made of a bunch of preloaded brushes and some fountain pens. It's what I start most of my drawings with. Instead of using pencils, I like to use brushes because it just has a really nice uniform look. And then the fountain pens, it actually works a lot like watercolors. So once you lay a pen line down, you can pull that ink out. It's water soluble, so if you do a wet brush stroke over the top of a pen stroke, it pulls it up and creates nice gradations. Then of course I have my water. So let's go for a ride. Now this is where the fun begins. While you're out riding, you can kind of decide what you're going to paint. So a lot of times when I'm plein air painting, I'll walk around for a while. And walking is very slow. It's a slow way to scout. But when you're on a bike, you can quickly look around and see loads of different scenes that you could paint. And so, you just have a quicker way to make the decision of what to draw. I think that even if you can't ride from your home, you should try to find a greenway and take your bike there, take your sketch kit there, get out and do a bike and draw or a bike and art trip. I think they're really, really fun, and you get two senses of accomplishment. One, you exercised, but also you built your art skills. So here we are in the art process, and you see me starting out with my sketch kit here. And what I do is I do my sketching with yellow color. So it's a preloaded, diluted water/alcohol and either fountain pen ink or liquid watercolor already loaded into a brush pen. So I use that to sketch with. And yellow is such a light color that you can sketch with it and it's not obvious in the final piece. In fact, it actually enhances. It kind of gives everything a nice glow. I just kind of really like that look, more so than seeing gray pencil lines underneath my colors. And then once I'm done with these 3 brushes, moving from yellow to red to blue block ends, I will take the watercolor set that I prepared and create little nuance colors and shadows. So then I layer that over the top of what I have already put down. Finally, after everything is a bit dry, I'm able to use the fountain pen and do some line work and do some really dark shading in areas to really tie it all together. So you have that full value range from white all the way to the fountain pen ink. Now it's not completely black, but it is a really nice range. And it's something that can be kind of hard to achieve with watercolor alone. Especially pan watercolor. It's hard to get your colors as dark as you want them to be. That's why I really like working with fountain pens, because you can achieve that level of darkness right from straight out of the pen. And with my lines down, I'm ready to pack up. So it's just as easy as when I left. Pack it all into the backpack and ride home. At this point, I've completed several paintings with this easel, and I went urban sketching with it as well. It works really well, and I hope that if this video inspired you to get out and draw, or even to make your own sketch easel, that would be really awesome, and I'd love to see what you come up with. Please let me know in the comments, and keep creating.